Hey guys, Professor Bell, Comic Book University, and Superman, the World. This was a pretty darn good book. This is a series, not a series, a whole anthology of different stories from around the world. Every part of the world? Nah. I mean, how big would that freaking book have to be? It'd be like one page each. It would still be a pretty darn big book. But nonetheless, this was pretty good. Let's get talking about who made this comic. Actually, no. We're not going to get into who made this comic book for the most part, all right? We're just going to start talking about some of the stuff here. All right. For the very first story, it's the United States story. This is what should arguably be the easiest of the stories to tell because it's just regular old Superman. He is, after all, an American character, right? American citizenship and all that stuff. He then goes into other countries also. So there's Spanish writers and artists doing Spain, Italian, doing Italy. There's Serbia, Cameroon. Really look out for that Cameroon story because some of these guys did it right. All right, not that other people did it wrong, but there's doing a story and then doing it right. You know what I'm saying? The Cameroon story introduced a new character who Batman seems particularly interested in. That's just a kind of little tiny bit of a spoiler, but I'm just saying this is what you should be doing in a story. Make sure you're introducing a couple of new characters. Just a little something, something. So all I'm saying is this. If you wanted to buy this book because you like collecting first appearances of characters, I've said what I came to say. There's also, after Cameroon, there's India, Argentina, Argentina, yeah. Anyway, Turkey, France, Brazil, Poland, Mexico, Germany, the Czech Republic, and Japan. I did not read all these stories. I just can't. I can't read all these stories now and try and get the book out to you as quickly as possible. I can't. So I will go back and read some more of these later. I'll probably wind up reading all of them because so far the stories are pretty good. I will tell you this. The very first story is Let Slip the Dogs of War, the American story. It's by Dan Jurgens and Lee Weeks. Try finding people who have more experience in the comic book world than these two. Honestly, I think it's about 70 years of experience between the two. Like, that's how good, that's how long these guys have been in it. That's not just saying, they're old. No. People have continued to read their stories for this long. That alone, right? To have that kind of tenure in the comic book world. Some people write one comic. Some people write one series. Some people write or draw for one character. We never hear from them again. That's not the case here with these two. Legends, indelible. So this story is pretty interesting because we have Superman. He's doing the thing that he typically does. He finds a different way. Look, most powerful character there is. The most powerful character there is in comic books. All right? Hands down. Yes, he's beating Goku. Superman's power is to always win, to always be able to save the day, right? And if we just have him going around punching all of his problems, well, then it's going to get boring. The best Superman writers, in fact, do something other than just punching out your problems. Sometimes it's important. I mean, look, I think the second best-selling book in the entire world is The Death of Superman. I think the first one, I'm talking about comic books, I think the first one should still be the X-Men #1 by the 4 or 5 covers that originally existed, right, by Jim Lee. But aside from that, this story, The Death of Superman, I mean, this comic book, wow, it outstripped so many other books. It was also very basic, right? As Shooter would put it, it's the basic stuff that's going to sell the most. But you can only do that basic stuff but so much. So if you do the other things, the more cerebral things, and I'm using that word for, to break down a bunch of what else he said, that's what's going to get people to hang out, right? When he kept on telling everybody, don't do a compilation book with all the superheroes in it together, da 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 da. Don't do that. I'm not going to allow for that to happen. When he was editor-in-chief, essentially, at Marvel, right? Don't do that. But then the toy company contacts him and says, hey, man, we want to sell a bunch of your toys and da 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 da. He's like, crap. Well, I'm going to write this book. I'll get Mike Zeck to draw it, and we'll put it out, and it's called Secret Wars. And yes, it had all the major characters in it, right? So it set a different tone. He's like, okay, maybe we can do that stuff. It's just, like, it is what it is. You know, it's like sometimes that's what you got to do. Of course, if you're going to put all the superheroes together in it fighting, you're going to get Infinity Gauntlets and stuff like that. And they're going to sell well. But how often can you really do that? Right? So Superman here on this one, I kind of went off on a little bit of a side tangent, but the idea is that Jurgens is one of those guys who gets that point explicitly. Yes, I cannot just have Superman punching the crap out of somebody. So instead, he uses his great strength and his great humility in this. He has to go down and talk to some army people who are shooting at some big monster, this huge monster walking across, I think it was the Hudson Bay. And the monster's like just, and it's like making noises and they're shooting at it. At one point, they're using surface-to-air missiles on a jet. You can use, I think they used to use surface-to-air or something, an air-to-air missile as a surface-to-air missile, but jets aren't carrying surface-to-air missiles. Look, unless something's changed, it's been a long time since I've been in the military. Surface-to-air missiles are way too heavy for a freaking jet to be used, a fighter jet that needs its maneuverability. You know what I'm saying? So, air-to-air. See, it's more like it would be air-to-air. You know what I'm saying? You get a lot closer. You don't need nearly as much fuel in it. And you can just, you know what I'm saying? And you don't have to blow the thing to hell. You just have to, boom, do some damage to it. The surface-to-air, they need a hell of a lot more kick to get there. They need to be faster. They need to go a lot further. So anyway, just pointing that little bit out. So we have this colonel talking to him, and all these guys are like, we're shooting him. It's like, well, did he attack anything? Well, no, not yet, but he's really big. Not the greatest dialogue in the world for a soldier to say. I don't know if Jurgens was ever in the military. I will say that for you to think that all of us soldiers are not intelligent, even the grunts, even the ones who are just going to be out there, because I was a grunt, all right? I was also an electrical engineer, right? I have a degree in electrical engineering. I have a degree in business with a specialty in marketing. You know what I'm saying? And currently, I do immigration work and I teach English. And I write technical manuals, but I don't do that as much as I used to. I'm not saying I'm the brightest guy in the world, but you can find a hell of a lot dumber. And yeah, I was a grunt. You have to pass an ASVAB, which is an IQ test. You do not need an IQ test to get into university. I'm just saying, right? The SATs are not an IQ test. They're a test of how much education you've gotten, how much you've learned. They're not a test of your IQ. In the military, you actually have to have a fairly decent IQ to be in it. And certain things they won't even let you do unless your IQ is much higher. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying we're smarter than that. I hate the idea they're always doing that nonsense about, the military, no, they're smart. He was big. Anyway, so it turns out this guy's wife is pregnant, this monster, his wife is pregnant, and he's got to get her back home or something to that effect. And Superman's just trying to figure this out the best he can. Now, while I'm not particularly happy at the dialogue in here at certain points, I just explained some of them. Like the idea of, oh, well, you can't just start shooting at things because you don't understand it. I understand, but it's also a foreign invader, and it has the potential to cause a lot of damage. Look, I'm 6'5". There's a reason why I walk around with a smile on my face. Even when I'm in a really bad mood, I try to remember, smile when you're in public. Because otherwise, I can intimidate and scare a lot of people who don't deserve to be intimidated or scared. And people do react to me differently than they'll react to a 5'5" woman. So I'm just saying. So, yeah, you got to be careful. And it's understood. Even with me, it's understood. If you start, you start getting upset at, somebody for being too big and a little bit intimidating. It's fair. It is. It is fair. I get it, because there is that threat, that impending threat of he could be dangerous. There's a reason why people will tell you, usually, especially guys, you don't hit a woman. We're bigger than women. So you don't hit a woman. You just don't do it. What if she's hitting me? Then be a man. Be a man and walk away. Don't start wailing on her and nonsense like that, right? It's so when the monster fights back, it kind of demeans the idea of, oh, well, you hit it first. Okay, cool. So if some little guy goes and hits me, I should just, haul off as hard as I could? No. So there was a lot in here that wasn't exactly the greatest, but it was a short story. They weren't trying to, just put the story out. They weren't going to get into a whole lot of detail. Not every comic has to be perfect. But I will say the core components were kept. That Superman was able to handle this without having to use his fists. Bravo. Excellent story. Excellent story. Everything else that happened in this comic book, a whole bunch of different stories. Obviously, Italy's going to use the Inferno because apparently that's all we've got. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It is the greatest story that's ever been told outside of, the Bible directly. So I can't blame the Italians, the Italianis, for using the Italianos for using the Inferno story in here. And it is still a really good one. Look at that last panel and tell me you are not impressed. This was a fun anthology, guys. And like I said, first appearances galore. I think you guys are going to get a kick out of the book. I think it's very entertaining, seeing different it's not even really different perspectives of Superman necessarily. It's different aspects of him interacting with other people. So you know what? Honestly, kudos to the editors. I didn't get the chance to read all of the stories in here, but of the stories I did read, Superman was very Superman. That's the editors. Because when you got people from all over the world who are told, write a Superman story, the editors are going to have to get on there and be like, okay, so you can't have Superman doing that because that's simply not what Superman does. He would actually do something like this or this or this or whatever. It's like, yes, but I want to really express my country. Okay, well, if you're a writer worth a squat, if you're a writer worth us paying you, then what you're going to do is you're going to have Superman interact with that kind of an attitude, as opposed to exemplifying that kind of attitude, because Superman is this, right? So from what I've read, super kudos to the editors for keeping Superman in check. Absolutely love it. This is how, the stories I read, this is how a Superman book, especially an anthology, especially one from around the world, should be written. I really am enjoying this so far. You guys let me know if you read other stories that you don't agree with, because I'm especially interested in those. And I will jump on and read that, and I will interact back as quickly as I can. I'll talk to you guys later. Like the video, watch an ad, and consider checking out the book. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.